Welcome back. You're watching Newslink. Now, the festive season is fast approaching and law enforcement authorities are warning of an increase in crime during this period. House and business robberies and truck hijackings have been flagged as one of the main targets this season. Let's hear what plans are in place for the truck industry with the president of the Truckers Association of South Africa, Mary Phadi. Thank you very much for joining us, Ms. Phadi, this morning. Perhaps just paint a picture for us before we get into the specifics of the trends that occurred during the festive season. But have you found that there is an uptick of this kind of crime within the trucking industry during this period of the year?
Definitely. In 2022, the latest crime statistic revealed a jump in hijacking, posing a concern for many. And the increase is over 700%, going from 3.8% to the previous quarter to 31.4%. So, we saw the second biggest increase in most of our companies.
Mm-hmm.
And the concern is the gap from the security borders. And it is leading to, many people, hijacking trucks from South Africa to other countries.
Yeah, and that is quite a cause for concern. And I suppose as you give us what you've just shared, one wonders how much of an engagement are you having with other law enforcement stakeholders, including SAPS, for example, creating the kind of relationships that will protect the drivers as they transport these goods across the country and across all borders?
2 months ago, we had a hijacking conference where we have engaged private sector from the security point of view. We know that there's an overwhelming security challenge in South Africa. And it looks like we don't have enough police officers to gather, everything at once. So most of the private companies have come to the party, and those directors are the former SAPS employees. And they have come with the technology that will be able to assist us to track those vehicles. They've come up with ideas that, we can put on our trucks so that drivers can be able to avoid such incident. So there are so many things that are happening, and this conference has given us, a much more broader understanding of how to deal with the issues. But surely you cannot depend on the, SAPS. You'll have to go private with this one.
Yes, and of course that will obviously increase the operating costs of those within the industry, and truckers are obviously going to need that kind of support and protection. Just talk us through those costs and the pressures that the industry will be facing, the higher price of diesel, inflation overall, already putting pressure on the industry, and now the added costs of security going to add to that as well.
The insurance premiums will go up, obviously, because the more you try to cover your asset, the expensive it gets. And the other thing is that if you look at, the issue of the fuel, businesses or clients are not going to be able to pay us the rate that they are paying us, as usual. You'll have to go back and negotiate. And those things take time, because you cannot wake up tomorrow and say, I've got a new rate. You need to engage with them, go through their legal department, write letters, and propose the reason why you want the diesel increase. So those are the things that are affecting small business. And the other thing that we've picked up is that from the pandemic, nothing is changing. We thought maybe the economy is going, but it looks like it's affecting us. We were also raising a concern that, the diesel rate has tripled, and it is affecting us. The past 2 months, there was no decrease in anything, despite the fact that petrol was going down, but it keeps on going up.
Yeah, and indeed it was indicated by one economist that diesel in particular has gone up by about 50%. But when we look at these issues of safety and for the truckers and the industry as a whole protecting itself, are there any teachings or training sessions that you are having with drivers in terms of protecting themselves? I know you've seen, like the rest of us, many scary videos on social media where truckers are shot at and the like. So are there any protective measures that a driver could take in an immediate response to threat?
Look, Rifue, the true reflection of the matter is that the industry is not regulated. So you'll find that, you can touch few companies and not touch all of them. So the reason why I'm raising this issue of, making sure that there's a regulation, I'm trying to say that as the sooner we move from road to rail, and assist the government with their proposal, it will be much better because it will reduce the number of trucks, and therefore the drivers, that training that drivers need is going to be much more less, because at the moment when there's any incident, you might find that you've got a driver that has not been taken off by the employer, they take that person into the truck. But we do have some sort of things that we've put in place so that drivers can be protected. If you look at the drive cam is now everything. All truckers, most of them have put in a drive cam. That's the reason why South Africans can see those videos. It's because of the drive cam that are installed on the trucks. And secondly is that the other measures is to teach the drivers that you don't have only a one tracking device, you've got 3 or 4. So those are the things that we are sending a message to the drivers. But it's not easy to reach out to all of them until we make sure that they are regulated. We put in a college, a training program that will foresee them to be trained before they drive a truck.
Ms. Mary, do you have a sense of the kinds of trucks that are being targeted? And I ask this because trucks carry different kinds of fleet, so it may be coal, foodstuff and the like. Is there a specific kind of truck that is being targeted by these syndicates, or is it wide-ranging in that any truck is at threat?
It is any, but the high number of trucks that have been targeted are those trucks that are transporting fuel. That's the challenge. And secondly, are those trucks that are transporting your tobacco. We've seen a trend there. And, the trucks that are transporting the medication. So those are the few trucks that we've picked up that it has the state rate has increased. But most of the trucks that are taken because they are a vehicle that must be used somewhere else, or maybe to strip it so that they can be able to sell the parts. But for now, what we've picked up that is most targeted one is petroleum.